Hello, this is Malorian, and this is going to be a 3,000 point game of my Orcs against some Lizardmen. So here's a picture of the generals here. I'm using a regular Orc Shaman, a Great Shaman, and he's going to have the good old slan of life with all that good stuff, extra dice, knows a whole lore, and going with the Dispel Scroll just like me. But the important thing for me to say right now is actually this was more of a demo game. My buddy wanted to have a game. He's played like maybe 2 games ever, never done 8th, but he really wants to get back into it. And so what's going to happen here is I made both lists, set it up, and we're going to go at it. But the whole time, it's not going to be like me kicking a kitten. I basically made the Lizardmen list to be a 3,000 point, well, let's say a 2,500 point tournament list plus extra stuff so you can get a good flavor of how everything works now, whereas the Orc list is a little bit held back, and especially the way that I deployed set up to be giving a good interesting game. So and of course the whole way I'm walking him through and telling him exactly what I'm going to be doing and all that stuff. So trust me, it's still going to be a good game. So here's our setup. It's just going to be a regular battle line, and from my side, from left to right, I have my Squig Herd Horde, I have the Wolf Chariot, some wolves that vanguarded up, then 3 River Trolls, a horde of Black Orcs, a horde of regular Orcs, and then there's my Shaman, 100 or 99 Night Goblins that has the BSB in there, my Giant, Boar Chariot behind, there's a Spear Chucker in the tower, some spiders that vanguarded up, and then on the right there is going to be my Savage Orc Boar Boys, and also a horde of Savage Orcs with extra choppa, and they're not big ones, they're just regular Savage Orcs. For him, going from left to right, he has some Skinks. Behind the building is his Chameleons, behind the black building. Then he has 8 Cold Ones, Razodon, 5 Croxagore are in the building, then a horde of 50 Saur Spearmen, a Stegodon, Temple Garden Slan, then a Salamander, the 40 Saurus Warriors with shields, and then on the far right he has some Pterodons and some more Skinks. Looking at here at the terrain, the 2 towers and the black building are regular buildings. We have the mysterious river going through, regular hill, that's the one that my Black Orcs are on. Back with his source, there's the hill that makes things flaming and magical, and then the 2 gray hills on the right are actually going to be scree slopes or whatever, the ones that are dangerous terrain when you go fast on them. So looking at this game here, really it's all supposed to be set up to be kind of really spreading things out. Obviously all the focus is going to be on the center, but it's set up so that my opponent here has a nice good defensive position. Of course my savages will have to be going kind of slow over that scree slope if I don't want to be just taking a bunch of wounds and things. And overall it should be pretty interesting as long as my friend can pick up pretty fast. So Orcs get first turn, and Animosity is not nice to me. Both my main Orc unit with the Shaman and the Night Goblins both failed Animosity and aren't doing anything, so no magic phase. Apart from that, things are kind of moving up, and yeah, that's really it. I mean, my Spear Chuck is kind of throwing out some shots, but it's just missing, and that's pretty much it. Oh, the one thing I did get done is the spiders charged the Salamander, and it fled and got away because it failed Animosity and got a few more inches, so I used it to my advantage. Lizardman turn 1, he doesn't really do anything at all. Shooting at the wolves on the left make them go by, so much for baiting out the cav, which is what I was trying to do. And then on the right he shoots up the spiders, killing all but 2, and luckily they passed their panic. Otherwise he does a little bit of magic, like trying to do some buffs on the right source that moved up and things like that, but nothing really too serious this turn. So my turn 2, I have these savages that run up to go and charge the Skinks. From stand and shoot, I lose 2. From the scree slope, I lose another 1. So all of a sudden this charge is not looking as good as it was supposed to be. And on the far left here, actually my Squig Herd had actually failed their Animosity so that they couldn't do anything. But luckily with my magic phase, I hand of Gorked them all the way up here to really force things with his cav. And you know, Depending how things go, he might beat me, I might explode, but if nothing else, the explosion will hopefully kill off all these support units, and then this whole flank will be over with. So at the end it looks like this. My trolls, I forgot to say, actually failed stupidity last turn as well, but at least this time they can move up. The pillar in the center as well is actually an altar arcane. I didn't say that, so I'm going to be loving the frenzy there if I can get the fights going my way. And so really the units that were behind are just trying to catch up. The spiders move back to preserve some points, and maybe they can be useful later. And otherwise, the savages on the far right are just slowly going over that scree slope. So Lizardman turn 2, he brings over his Razodon and brings out of his Croxagores from the building, does some shooting at me, doesn't really do anything. His Cav charge into me, and man, with all my attacks I did almost nothing to him, so I thought I was going to lose for sure. Turns out I won by 1 and he held. Otherwise, his Salamander comes up, manages to do a wound to the giant, and my one Savage Boar Boy on the right, he's doing pretty awesome. His Skinks had killed one last turn, but this turn that last one broke the Skinks, ran them down, and ran into the Pterodons behind. So those guys are doing alright, I guess. And now this really sucked. The whole idea of what I was trying to do here is that the giant was going to charge the salamander and kind of like run through the 2 blocks so I could get him to a flank after. Well, the problem is that this forest turned out to be the wildwood, or the one that hurts you after the movement phase. Yeah, this one wildwood just did 4 wounds to my giant. So, pretty ridiculous, but that's just the way it goes. Alright, so this is what it looks like at the very end, and so it was kind of a crazy turn. On the left, my squig herd is still just kind of like grinding down those source calves slowly. Again, I'm sure that when I kill almost nothing, I'm going to lose, but then he just fluffs his dice coming back, so it turns out that I actually win by 1 again, and they hold. The river trolls charge the Razodon, or Razodon, don't actually manage to beat it. That's partly because when it did its double stand and shoot, it got 20 shots and killed one of my guys just charging in. The Black Orcs, now this is what was supposed to happen. The River Trolls were supposed to charge the Razodon. The Black Orcs were going to charge the Croxagores, so that when the River Trolls won, or what they should have, they go into the Croxagore, I beat up the Croxagore, and then be able to hit into the source in such a way that the Stegodon wouldn't be able to hit into me. Well, the Croxagore fled because, of course, when I explained it to my opponent so they knew what was coming, they fled, got away, took a couple of wounds from dangerous terrain, and then I failed my leadership to redirect. So now my Black Orcs are kind of just standing out there in the middle of nowhere, and yeah, otherwise things are moving up, and my one Savage Orc Boar Boy actually managed to beat the Pterodons and run them down. So yeah, that guy's my star right now. And the guys that aren't the star are my Savage Orc Horde, which failed animosity, rolling a 1, and just picking a fight with the 2 spiders and killing my spiders off. So, way to go, guys. Now, we talked about this one here because he was wondering what to do, and really, the Stegodon would be on the front of the Black Orcs, so both of them couldn't charge in. And so I told him that, usually Lizardmen are more defensive, so if you want to keep your spear bonus and all this stuff, what some opponents would do is just stay back and buff them up. But what you can do is, if you want to be really ballsy, is that you charge in now and just hope your magic phase is good so that you can really beef them up. And that's what he's going for, so we'll see if it pans out. And if you look from here, you can see it panned out huge. But let's go over this first. Now, on the left, his skinks run by, do 2 wounds to my chariot back there. My squig herd finally destroys his last of his cav and combat reform to look around. The trolls finally beat the Razodon. His Croxagore rally and are facing back. And now, this is what happened in this big huge mess on the right. He was really gambling on having a good magic phase, and he got 12 dice. He got 11, channeled 1 more, so a full magic phase, and when I was looking at it, I really had a hard time trying to figure out how I was going to try and shut him down. I think my biggest mistake here is that he went for 7 dice, 6 plus his 1 on the throne, and I decided to try and dispel that, because then even if he gets off the flesh to stone after that, not only does he run the risk of miscasting, but if he's toughness 6, I'm still strength 7 with my black orcs, and I can mess him up still a little bit. Well, the problem was that I actually failed to stop that, and then with his remaining dice, he just buffed that unit to hell. So he had toughness 8 Saurus with a 4 plus regen. There's the shield of thorns on there just for fun, and wow, yeah, my black orcs killed 2 guys and got slaughtered, and he overran into my general's unit, and so they're going to suffer the same fate. He also had enough dice to do dwellers to my night goblins, killing, not actually, I think I rolled pretty well for them, and at least my BSB stayed alive. And then the salamander shot and only killed a few, only because now there's a huge gaping hole there. But man, that was pretty bad. And yeah, I don't think I mentioned this before either, but you know that giant that tripped up in the forest and then tried fighting this salamander? Yeah, the salamander killed him before he even got the strike back. And when the giant fell on him, I rolled a 1 for the salamander and 2 of the skinks. So falling directly on him only killed 1. It's just one of these funny games. So on my turn 4, I know I really have to go for it, so I have my chariot and the savages that charge over into his Saurus, and my night goblins go into the salamander just to kind of wipe out this flank. And then I go for the up version of the Foot of Gork. So in a previous turn, he'd use his scroll on that. I think on turn 1 or 2 I'd lost my scroll from stopping a dwellers from him. But now I go and I try and smash this temple guard, so maybe if I can repeat enough times I can kill the Slan. But it only went the once. Killed a good number though, killed 8, but still a far cry from what I need to be a real true assassination. And at the end of the turn you can see that everything just kind of went really bad. My only good news is, well, I mean, my trolls failed stupidity, did nothing. On the far left, my squeak herd killed a unit of skinks. But even though my night goblins were able to run down the salamander and bump into the back of this combat, I just did nothing to those Saurus. The Saurus on the right weren't buffed up at all, and I just kind of whiffed my attacks, didn't do much at all, and then his attacks back just slaughtered me. And yeah, I kind of just broke, and I guess I was lucky to get away, but of course with his turn being next, he can get into those night goblins, just rip them apart, and I'd be lucky to be steadfast. And then worse yet, on the far left, he, of course, just all those things, all those buffs are still on his units, so he just brutalized my orcs and ran them all down. So without a general, even if I am steadfast on the night goblins, it'll only be on a 6. That's assuming he doesn't kill my BSB, in which case it would be a 5. So we just kind of call it. Plus at this point we've been playing for something like 5 hours. So victory to the Lizardmen. I think some things that were going into this is that I really did not give my opponent the respect he deserved. He caught on pretty quickly and realized that, of course, if you buff a unit to hell, that they're going to win whatever combat you want. So that was the main thing. I mean, when everything failed there with the Black Orcs, it went bad quick. And, even if my whole plan would have worked, where, they would have fought the Croxagore and then gone into his Lizardmen, or his Saurus after, if he would have buffed him up, it just would have been even worse, because of course then he'd get his spear bonus. So that was pretty bad. But hey, it's great. It's good to see that he's learning quick. That means he can start doing it on his own pretty soon after that. And the other thing I think was a big mistake for my part for the way I played this is that I was giving way too much credit to that scree slope. After I was charging off of it and doing my tests, it only killed a few guys. I should have been marching over this thing and getting into combat right away. But, my friend gave me a few licks today, but I'll be back and get some revenge next time. So, anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.